Is anyone out there? Hello everyone! Thanks for tuning into my very first IGTV movie. I've not done this kind of filming before. I've done YouTube and I've done some vlogging, but this is kind of my first ever real tutorial. I have been doing so much work during this crazy time where we are all finding that we have to adjust and adapt to do all these amazing things just to get by and feel like normal people. Well, it's not normal times, but hopefully the normal times will be back eventually soon. I did have a bunch of you the other day on my Instagram stories ask me how I made this little doohickey. I made this for my sister. She lives out in California, so shout out to you, Binky. Stay strong out there. You guys are going crazy over there, I know. We're all going crazy all over the place here. So I just wanted to show you guys how I made this little pattern here. It kind of is based off of some things I've already seen floating around out there and off of what I think would work best in this time frame. Total disclaimer, I am not a doctor, I am not a psychiatrist, I am just a maker that is looking to find a solution to a problem that I have, and the problem I have is that I couldn't find any masks anywhere. So I decided to make one with materials that I have at home. All you need for this is about 34 grams of yarn, and you also need, if you want to, you need a coffee filter. I use 2 for the inside of this for double protection. The great thing about this is that you don't even have to create the pocket bit. You can actually just create the front bit that I show you and call it a day, and use that as a cute little cover for your own surgical mask if you have one, or you can totally just wear this. Anything is better than nothing in this time. If you want to wear a t-shirt over your face, that's your choice. Me, I decided I wanted to do something different about it and something that would stay better too. This pattern is also very, very easy to adjust. I don't have all the specs figured out for every person's size. I do not have children to experiment on with my making. That sounds really creepy. But if you want to adjust this, it's so simple. You would just have to adjust how many stitches across that you do, so it's not totally covering their entire side of their face as well, and you can easily just make the chains on the end longer or shorter to fit your needs. If you want more information on that, just DM me here on Instagram and I will be able to answer your questions on that. Very easy, very quick to work up, and you don't have to do the 2-tone colors. You can easily just go with one single color throughout. So anyway, enough chit chat, let's get started with this video, and I'm excited for you guys to see how this works out. For this tutorial, I decided to go with something easy for my stash to work with, and this is I Love This Yarn in Stonewash, and the color is Deep Violet, but you choose whatever works for you. I will explain those little scribbles that you see on the label later. My color B yarn, I chose to use Yarn B's Soft Secret and Lilac, and again, that second color is completely optional. You can do this all in one color if you choose. I just wanted to make it a little more fun and girly. So then I decided to choose a 4.5mm hook for this project, simply for the fact that I want tighter stitches, and I will obviously be using some tapestry needles to weave in those ends. There's not too many to worry about, thank goodness. And please use scissors, because that is better than your teeth. Okay. So if you're using that second color of yarn, go ahead and set that aside for now. We won't need that to start. Grab your primary yarn, and you are going to create a slip knot, as always, and you are going to work up a foundation chain of 33 chains. All right, and I do want to give a disclaimer. In a second, you're going to see me start this first row into the back bumps, but you do not have to do that. I prefer working in the back bumps of a foundation chain because I believe it does help you towards the end if you are using seaming methods and things like that. And I just think it looks cleaner, but that is totally optional. For row 1, we will skip the first chain from the hook, and we will work a single crochet into the second chain from the hook and then into the next 6 chains. You will then work a half double crochet into the next 18 chains. Just one half double crochet in the next 18 chains. And then you are going to finish out working into the foundation chain by working a single crochet into the rest of the chains that you see. And this will give you a total of 32 stitches across, 14 total single crochets, and 18 total half double crochets. Go ahead and chain one and turn your work. And then we will begin our single row repeat until row 14. You're going to work a single crochet into the first 7 stitches across, then a half double crochet into the next 18 stitches across, and finish with single crochet into the last 7 stitches across. You will always finish with 32 stitches, so make sure you continue to count and don't forget how many you're supposed to be having every row. And make sure you chain one and turn your work at the end of every row. And once again, you'll be doing this for 14 total rows. And I do want to mention that I am a naturally tighter crocheter. You can probably see me do like a bit of a yanking method with the last loop of each stitch that I pull up. And that is just something I've never been able to shake as a maker. It's just my style. But I would recommend that all makers, when they're making their crochet masks, try to maintain a tight tension. You want to eliminate the amount of space you have between each stitch, because this will definitely, in conjunction with a filter, help keep your mask very airtight. And that is the goal for face masks, is an airtight solution that prevents you from getting other people sick and keeps the germs out. So meet me at the end of row 14 and good luck with your tension. I will see you in a little bit. Welcome back, everyone. Excuse me while I zoom my camera in here a little bit to get a little close and personal with you. So as we work the very last stitch of row 14, you're going to insert your hook as normal, go ahead and pull up a loop, and to create a color change, the best way to do it is to yarn over and pull up a loop with the new yarn. So if you are choosing to do a second color, this is the best way to change colors right before the next row. So go ahead and grab that yarn and pull it through. And if you're not doing a second color, just continue as normal, finishing that last stitch with the one color that you chose. And take some scissors if you are doing two colors and trim that working yarn. We are now going to move on to the border round of this pattern. This is where we create the ear flaps. So start by working a single crochet into each stitch across. So it's going to look like we're creating row 15, but the way this works up and the way that we rotate the piece, it basically is a fancy border round. And as we approach the very last stitch, you should remember that you still should have 32 stitches at this point. You're going to chain one, and you're gonna kind of find the raw end from row 14 on that side of your rectangle. And you're going to join your yarn with a slip stitch to the raw end of row 14. It might be a little hard to find. It's not rocket science, though, I promise. Just to go into what looks to be the obvious end of the row. And from here, you're going to chain 20 chains. Now, this is where you can adjust your pattern. If you know that you need longer loops, create looser chains here, or simply just create more chains or less chains if you don't need as many. This is where you'll do a lot of playing around as a maker. And then, just like we started the chain, we're going to finish this chain by joining our yarn to the raw end of the first row on that same side of the piece with a slip stitch. And then chain one and rotate your work. You're then going to be working into the bottom of the stitches from row 1. These are the unworked loops that we did not use in the foundation chain. And that's why I like going into the back bumps to start my patterns, because then if I ever need to go into the base of a piece, it feels like I'm actually just going into a normal stitch top. So go ahead and work 32 single crochets total across the bottom of each stitch of the foundation row 1. All right, and then once you get to the end of that, double check that you made 32 single crochets. We want to not leave any unworked loops unworked. And you're going to, once again, slip stitch into the side of those raw ends of row 1, just on the opposite side. And once you lock that in, you are going to work up 20 chains, just like we did before. Or if you have a different number of chains, make sure you match that so it's not uneven that would be the worst, having a lopsided mask because your chains are not the same. And also watch your tension, that you try to keep your looseness of your chains similar on both sides. And then carefully search for the other raw end of row 14 and lock that chain in with a slip stitch so that is not going anywhere. There you go. And those raw, or those little ends there that we have to weave in later, they might present a little problem, but it should be fine. And go ahead and join to that first single crochet made of this little border round and fasten off. Voila! And voila, we have our first part of this pattern finished. Go ahead and weave in those ends here, and you can totally stop here. You don't have to create the pocket insert, but if you do want to, keep watching and I'll check you in a second. And I do want to mention too, this is a great place to go ahead and fit it over your face and see how that fits. If you need more rows to create a higher covering for your face, that's fine. If you need more chains, keep that in mind. And this works up so fast you can totally start over at any point. And that magical sound means that we are moving on to the inside pocket of this pattern. So go ahead and grab your second color yarn if you chose to go with a second color. And if not, keep that same color yarn, create a slip knot, and we are going to start this part by working up a chain of 19. You're going to work up 19 chains. And once again, you're going to see me working into the back bumps of the foundation chain for this same piece. This will help us when we seam together our front mask and our pocket. So go ahead, turn your chain over, and we are going to work a half double crochet into the second chain from the hook and into each chain that you see. This will give us a total for row 1 of 18 half double crochet stitches. And when you get to the end of this, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And then rows 2 through 13 will be a single row repeat of half double crochet in each stitch across, a chain 1 and turn. And I will see you once you get to 13 rows. Enjoy the hyperlapse. Welcome back, everyone. So once you finish 13 rows, we will go ahead and chain 1 and turn our work. Now, to join these pieces together, we will be going into the back loops only of the rectangle or square piece that you just made here. And then we will also be going into the back loops only of the bottom of the unworked loops that you see here. And that's why I like using that back bump, guys. Gives you a very clean top of stitch look to work with later. So go ahead and insert your hook into the back loop only of the first stitch from row 13. Grab your first front mask piece that you created, and you're going to count from, it doesn't matter what side you start with, you're going to count 7 stitches in and then work your hook through the tops of the 8th stitch from the right. And make sure that your yarn is placed at an easier reaching place. I tend to get tangled at this part just to start out. Go ahead and pull a loop through and through again, and that is a join with a slip stitch going into the back loops of the pocket and the both loops of the front part of the mask. Grab some yarn and pull through slip stitch style. Ooh, and I forgot to mention that you do need to have the wrong side of the mask facing you when joining the pocket to it, because you want to have the right side facing outwards as you wear the mask. And take your time as you seam these two pieces together. It can be finicky to start, but once you get the hang of it, those stitches will start lining up automatically with each other. And make sure you're doing 18 joining stitches. Don't forget that very last stitch of the pocket square. Yeah. The first time I made this, I totally forgot that one. All right, and then once you've completed 18 joining stitches, chain 1 and turn your work a little bit. And you are now going to work single crochets across the raw ends of your pocket square. And there's no right or wrong way of doing this, but there is a pattern to it. So try to keep these as even as possible. And you're going to work 12 of those across. All right, and once you have finished your 12 single crochet stitches across the raw end, go ahead and turn your work. And like I said earlier, we are going to go ahead and use the back loops only of the unworked loops of the foundation chain from the bottom of row 1. So go ahead and insert your hook into the back loop only of that first one there. Count 7 stitches from the right. Skip over those and work into the 8th stitch from the right and insert your hook into the top of that stitch to begin seaming these together. And we are doing the same exact thing that we just did with the top portion of our work. And we're just going to work 18 total of those seaming stitches across. And if you haven't seamed pieces together and this is your first time, well, congratulations. You are moving into a much more advanced part of the crocheting world. I love seaming pieces together. I'm definitely a designer that likes to make things in parts and then kind of fit them together like Legos or puzzle pieces. That's kind of like my design style. I don't do too many seamless pieces. I just kind of like the step-by-step creation of it all. And just like we did before, at the end of those 18 joining stitches, chain 1, and you are now going to work, once again, 12 single crochet stitches across the raw ends of the other side of the pocket square. And by this point, you are a pro at seaming and at using the raw ends of a crocheted piece. After you have completed your 12 single crochets across, go ahead and chain 1 and join to that very first seaming stitch that we had in the very beginning of this part of the pattern. Trim your yarn and fasten off like a pro. Well done. And I do want to reiterate that this is a DIY solution to a problem that I was personally having amongst this pandemic crisis. I would not recommend using this over a medical grade face mask. Please use those if you have them instead of this, but if you are like me and we're having the same problem, this is a great solution, and I hope this pattern was easy enough to follow. So if we go ahead and move into adding the filters, this is super simple. You might have a better way of doing this than I did, but I just folded over 2 pieces together. I folded the top and then the bottom, and then I slipped that puppy on in there, and I just tucked in the remaining sides of the filters. And that's it. This mask itself, when I can sit down and not film a video for it, probably takes me about 25 minutes to do, but I have been crocheting for over 7 years now. Oh no, wait. Yeah, like almost 7 years now. So, you know, if you don't go as fast, that's fine, but I do hope you enjoy working this up. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. I am all ears and all yours during this crisis, I promise. And good luck! I had a great time making this video for you guys. And if this video was helpful, please go ahead and give it a like, and go ahead and follow my YouTube channel because you might see some more tutorials in the future. Until then, stay tuned for some bloopers. Hello! Blah, 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 blah. TV story, movie. Hi, Cairo! Coffee filters. You nervous around here, guys? I guess I am. I can't talk when you have the toy in my face. I can't talk. Go. I'm really new to the camera. Don't know what I'm doing. My dog has some boundary issues.